Good morning, Diana here from diana.org. I'm here today to talk to you and to record episode number 26, which is the episode that is going to talk about the 5D heart chakra. I'm late in recording this message. But I want to thank you for your patience. And before we begin, I'm going to play my intro, which is a beautiful activation of some codes of light. Okay, here we are, we're back, and let's get straight into it and talk about the heart chakra. So let's start with the basics of the heart chakra. Most of you that are here in the community will probably have some knowledge, if not quite a lot of knowledge about the heart chakra. But the point of these teachings of late were to talk about the evolutionary trajectory of our energy centers. This is why it's been really important to revisit our knowledge on chakras and to contemplate and explore a little bit more the purpose of the chakras, the evolution of the chakras, and the archetypes that are sort of playing out within those energy centers. So today we're at the heart chakra end, and because really we are stepping much more into the collective activation of the heart chakra portal, and this includes the activation and the alignment of the higher heart, or the divine heart, if you will. I've really been sitting with this with regards to the messages that have wanted to come through for this. And there is one particular aspect of this center that's coming in really strongly that I will talk about, that has to do with the purpose and the evolution of the heart center. And it's for us to understand, as we are stepping more and more into activation and alignment of these centers, which of course is a direct correlation with our emotional body. So the heart chakra is located here. So it's the chest area, obviously, around where our actual physical heart is, right? And it's the chakra itself emits color green, and it spins in a vortex-like motion. So it's like a transmitter. So the front is sort of where we receive the energy that's coming in, and then we process, transmute, transcend heart chakra themes and transmit out into the world. The back of the chakra is sort of what stores the memories of, or the codes, the timelines, the frequency that is related to this heart chakra. The lessons, the cords of attachment that connect us to our karmic cycle are all connected through the back of the heart chakra, or the portal, or the cone opening, the vortex of energy, I should say. I keep wanting to say, well, vortex of light. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so green, location, energy portal, those things we know for sure. Now, like in every other video that I've that I've recorded so far with the other portals or centers, energy centers. The heart chakra also has the higher vibrational and the lower vibrational or lower density archetypes attached or playing out through this energy center. So let's talk about those and then talk about what are the characteristics of this. So the two archetypes, the polarities playing out in the heart chakra are that of the lover on one hand, which is the higher frequency, the more positive, if you will, archetype of the heart chakra, and the opposing one is the actor or the actress. With the lover, the attributes or characteristics of the archetype of the lover within the heart chakra is that of the ultimate, if you will, state of love. So that weaves in the higher heart aspect of the heart chakra. The lover archetype is completely open and enjoys all things love, connection, the oneness, the infinite flow and wonder of the energy of love, the frequency of love. It is that state of being in awe of the world around you as well as the world, and even more importantly, the world within you. The connection between the two, the capacity and the ability to just be in love, be that frequency itself, so that from the feminine energy perspective, love is naturally magnetized and exchanged with the environment. And from the masculine energy perspective, that love energy is that anchored and behaved, actioned in the physical space. Yeah. So some of the traits of the lover archetype, or the healthy, balanced expression of the lover or the heart chakra, is that the person will be open and honest with themselves first and foremost, so that they can then offer themselves openly and honestly to others. They are honest with their own fears, any limitations. The person will know what they need to work on, what is required of them, and they can own it. And when I say own it, they can express this in a healthy way without seeking approval or offering self-judgment, or even more so, being worried about other people, about them not being loved by others because they're concerned for being judged and persecuted. So another way to say this is that the person that has a healthy and balanced heart chakra will be honest about their shadow side, will be aware and will actively participate in healing aspects of themselves that are necessary, that they identify that need to be healed. So they don't project those fears outwards. And if they do, they catch themselves, they can own it, they can work on it, they accept others' observations for what they are. They are loving, balanced, self-reflective, self-accepting, healthy within their relationships. Therefore, they are not afraid of intimacy, because obviously by the time the energy, the kundalini, comes up the energy centers, you would have gone through the sacral chakra, which is the birth or the center of creativity. And when it comes up to the heart chakra, and so the sacral and the heart are interacting, a healthy and balanced heart chakra then has the ability to connect at heart level through intimacy. So it becomes a healthy way, balanced way to experience the collaboration between intimacy and love. Yeah. So it transcends those basic impulses of sex only. Yeah. So the other attributes of of the divine nature of the heart chakra is that it expresses itself as non-judgmental, intuitive, self-loving, and therefore able to love others, peaceful, compassionate, and has the capacity, the maturity to understand their own emotions. Now, this is really, really key and something that I'm going to continue to talk about, because I'm finding that, or I have observed, and I have had many conversations along these lines, that the emotional body tends to be let me say this in the right way. I don't want to sound like I'm judgmental. So there's a direct correlation between spiritual awakening and the awakening of the emotional body. And this is often not done in harmony and balance. It's often looked away from. So there's a degree of bypassing when it comes to the emotional body. The emotional maturity, or let's put it this way, emotional intelligence doesn't seem to be considered as important when it comes to spiritual awakening. So there's a degree of bypassing that happens around this, and it really needs to be anchored in a better way, because truly the heart chakra is only really in harmony and balance, and can only really truly love unconditionally and give itself the opportunity to expand and activate the higher heart when all aspects of self are in consciousness and in awareness, and that includes the emotional body. It's not exclusive of the emotional body. So all of these aspects or components of self need to work together and collaborate together amicably as a team. Okay. So the ego traits or the personality, the aspects of the actor or actress, which is the aspects of the heart chakra that are in disharmony, are those where people practice the pretense of love. Have you ever met somebody that speaks of love, but all you want to do is applaud them, and because you're aware of an Oscar-winning performance? This is the ego trait of the heart chakra. People whose heart chakra is in disharmony, and I used to be one of them, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be able to speak of this with integrity and complete transparency, find it difficult to feel and really stay in the energy of love or deep intimacy, because they actually fear being loved all loving, and the fear, the demon is grief. So those of us that have been deeply, deeply abandoned and betrayed, and there's still a big charge, energetic charge that equals the frequency of grief, will often pretend to act out love without really being in it. So it feels like an Oscar-winning performance. Some of the personality traits or ways in which this can be observed is that these people can be quite withdrawn, antisocial. They can be quite cold, critical, judgmental, intolerant of self. So themselves, they can't really even tolerate their own, existence in the world. They can't be present with themselves. Because there's a lack of capacity, or a lack of self-love. There isn't a practice of self-love. There certainly isn't. There's an abandonment of self in general. I don't have time. This is ridiculous. It's wussy, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure you've heard all of that. In my experience through my counseling and mentoring practice, I often hear people have this unconscious dialogue around using their external life circumstances to block any kind of work on self, any kind of expression of self-love, self-respect, and consequently feel terrible for it. So they judge other people for it. That's how they project this sort of stuff onto others, right? So yeah, loneliness, isolation, depression, fear of intimacy, lack of empathy, narcissism, or certainly aspects of narcissism can express here through the heart chakra. But the other side of the coin is also that there can be, that they're very easily codependent. Yeah. So what they lack in themselves, they want from somebody else. And so there's an opportunity for codependency, for extreme codependency, at every turn, really, with every relationship, whether it's parent, whether it's friendship, whether it's intimate, it doesn't matter. So codependency, very poor boundaries, consequently being demanding, clingy, jealous, ashamed. They hide their darker feelings and they become these secrets. So there's a great deal of shame as well. Need for constant reassurance, creating drama where there's no drama necessary. It's like an ongoing circus all the time. And this underlying hope to heal their wounds by finding someone else to ease their pain, a relationship that will come along and make it all better. Or another classic is a couple that's unhappy in their relationship or their marriage, so they have another child in the hope that having another child will rescue or save the marriage, or buy another house, or buy another car, or that sort of stuff, all of that external stuff. But of course, none of this offers what they're looking for in return. So it's a recipe for disaster, to be honest. I don't know how else to put it. And like I said, the demon is grief. So in terms of physical signs of imbalance and where this plays out, the energetic imbalance, where it plays out in the body, is that the heart chakra is directly connected to the endocrine gland of the thymus gland. So thyroid, adrenal glands, that sort of stuff. The physical signs of imbalance that are related also to the heart chakra. It's the heart, disorders of the heart, lungs, respiratory system, breast, arms, shortness of breath. So those people that have anxiety and breathe really shallow, which is at some point most of us in this world, that is directly related to some sort of an imbalance somewhere in the heart chakra, usually around, the appearance of, loneliness and things like that, a fear of some sort. All of that plays out in the heart chakra. Let me see what else. Yeah, okay, so circulatory system, immune system deficiency, tension between shoulder blades. I want to say something in the spirit of this being a reminder. And what I want to say here is that please remember that by the time these physical balances appear, the energetic disharmony is very strongly established. So this is why quite often inner work is what truly helps shift many, if not all, certainly supports the shift, the healing of the physical imbalances, because it's a direct outcome of an energetic block in this center related to, like whichever point we're talking about. In this case, we're talking about the heart chakra. Okay, because we're already at 23 minutes, I'm going to move on, and I want to talk to you about this. I've been contemplating this for the last couple of weeks. According to the literature that I have and the intuition that I have been receiving, traditionally, the developmental age for this particular portal activation, or, it has to do with the activation, it has to do with this energy point coming more into the physical function, is traditionally it's between the ages of 4 to 7. What I want to say here is that these days, with these 21st century kids, it's actually a little bit earlier. My experience with my son, for example, who was born in 2005, it's probably closer to 2.5 or 3 onwards. And the reason why this seems to be important is that as I was channeling information related to this, there's a divine wisdom that's coming through and talking about the point of individuation is particularly important in relation to the heart chakra. So what I mean by this, most of us are aware, right, that when we are born, our whole entire sense of self is completely related to the guardian or the parent, right? Our well-being, our perception of ourselves in the world is completely attached to the parent or the guardian that we are around, right? Now, we begin to notice that we are different or separate, or a separate expression, separate being to our parent at around 18 months, 2 years, 2.5. And it is at this point of individuation, where the heart chakra function begins to activate. Now, why is this important? Because up until this point, right, our sense of love is completely attached and enmeshed with our parent. And when we begin to realize that we are separate, or begin to learn that we are different, that we are an individual expression in the world, there's a shift that occurs. It's an unconscious shift, of course, at that stage, because we are very young, obviously. But intuitively or unconsciously, we begin to wonder, and I think that this might be, and so this is the contemplation I've been having. So, and please forgive me, I'm channeling this information, but what I'm feeling is it's at this point that the first real wave of existential questions subconsciously occurs, where we begin to question our purpose, our individualism, even at such a young age, which of course has everything to do with our divine nature, and therefore love, and therefore heart chakra. And so we spend a lot of our, or most of our time, of course, in the body, in a lifetime, contemplating this in all sorts of different ways. What is the point? Why are we born? What are we supposed to do? Who's who? What's what in this zoo called life, right? And so here's why I believe Spirit has let me down this contemplation, brought this into my awareness. It's actually really important to understand, or potentially for us to go within and to have a conversation with our inner 2.5, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, that is having the experience of realizing that he or she is different, separate, individual in this world, certainly expressed individually, different body parts, bits, maybe different thoughts, different opinions, likes, begins to understand, the inner child, that they like music, game, color, book, that's different to another child. All of these things contribute to whether our heart chakra function is activated in a healthy, harmonious, or disharmonious way. It's part of our inner child work. And so I'm now being told that the journey of fully understanding our divine self cannot be done without that inner child work, without conscious inner child work, and inner child work specifically connected to the emotional body. Because, and here's another thing, right? Because this is going to, okay, wow. So I'm now being told that one of the 3D matrix systems that is collapsing is the education system, because it's really outdated. And so, as part of the collective of light workers, of those stepping more into their divine nature with awareness, we have to be aware of what went wrong in the past in order to know how to set the foundations for the future, or in this present moment, and then manifesting for the future for the kids that are, little now, or teens. So the 21st century children. Because for us, those of my generation, or, those that are certainly 30 plus, when we went to school, I know I started school at 6. Well, I started kindy earlier than that, but I started school at 6. And we went from, or my experience is that I went from those really basic emotional functions, or being aware of those really basic emotional functions, such as crying, arguing, being upset, screaming, or being quiet. That only certain emotional states were rewarded, but expressing emotionally wasn't preferred. What was preferred is academic achievement. Going to kindy, learning to read, write, of course, all of those things are very important, but all of the attention was on that. There was never any discussion or encouragement to learn about the emotional body. So emotional maturity for most people is still equivalent to around that age, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, where the heart chakra function is activated. So the heart chakra function is automatically underactive, it's in disharmony, and it's perpetuated by this constant feedback loop of the society that we live in that says that academic and intellectual function is most rewarded, of course, and appreciated in this society. And so consequently, we have very little emotional resilience and of course, mental health is just rampant. And mental health is actually incorrect. It's emotional health. Okay. So my final point in this, from the perspective of purpose and evolution, our purpose, what I've just said and explained with regards to understanding the developmental age and the activation, the function of the heart chakra, right? From the perspective of our inner child, and then the perspective of the kids that are in the world now, is the purpose at the moment. Doing that inner child work, understanding how your heart chakra was activated and how it functions as a direct result of what happened back when you were that age. Yeah. I'll give you an example. I've actually done some of this work, and when I was doing this work, I realized, well, to start off with, I was incredibly shy as a child, to the point where I could literally just blend in the background into the wall, and people just wouldn't realize that I was even there. I was that quiet and that shy. And part of the reason, a big part of the reason, was that from the earliest time, from a very, very young age, and my first memory is 18 months, I remember feeling energy. I remember being able to see color. Of course, I didn't know what that was at that age. I didn't have the language for it, but I remember the experience of it, right? And so by the time I got to about 3 or 4, I was asking my grandmother and my mother about things like, why is Daddy saying this when he means this? So I was questioning, because what I was seeing in my experience, oh my gosh, sorry. My experience was contradictory, and it was really confusing. I didn't understand, right? And I kept getting the message that I was imagining things and that it wasn't right, and never, ever to talk about this again. And so at a very young age, I learned to stop talking about intuition. I learned to stop expressing my individuality. Because according to my grandma and my mum, it was somehow dangerous. Now, interestingly enough, I never shut it down, but it became my secret friend, the unseen friend. And as an unseen friend, I got really quiet and introverted, like really painfully quiet and introverted. And although I was able to observe everything and see things, I was seeing them like these two things play out. So my lesson in life, as far as my heart chakra was concerned, that there was a great deal of fear associated with who I knew I was, that intuition had to be not talked about. I was a closet intuitive and a closet channeler for, oh my goodness, until I was 44 years old and I came out of the spiritual closet. There was so much fear attached to this. So, of course, then, like I said before, my experience, I'm going to take a photo of this and post it. My experience in my heart chakra, that it's a really lonely world. That because I have this talent or this friend called intuition, I'm somehow different and scary, and I can't tell anybody because I'll be, judged and looked down upon, and somehow it was wrong. So this was my work. And so I'm sharing this with you so that when you go in, you can maybe have a little conversation within yourself and learn and explore how your inner child experienced the world in direct relation to the heart chakra function, so that you can allow that harmony to come in, to forgive, to allow compassion, to allow empathy to come in order for healing to happen, and in order for that to then align more and activate in a more harmonious, peaceful way. Because remember that the lover archetype of the healthy, high vibe version, or the divine version of the heart chakra, is the lover, and the lover's at peace. The lover just loves, accepts. There's a free flow, an awe, an amazement of everything and everybody around it. Him or her, if you will. Yeah? Sorry, I just need to move. Oh. Okay. And so, in closing, it's really important to do this work also because it lends itself to the evolutionary process, the trajectory. And of course, the 5D version of the heart chakra is the activation of the higher heart, which is right here, right there, that bone. Yep, right there between the throat and the heart. So when the heart and the throat come together, it equals divine nature and expression, right? The expression of your highest version of yourself, your higher self, right? In this physical space. That's the activation of the higher heart. The higher heart cannot activate fully and come online if those energy points are still in disharmony. And so the higher heart, but here's what's really interesting. I'm actually being reminded. So up until this point, the higher heart would activate as a direct result of harmony and balance, or the work, the awareness, the activation, the spiritual awakening that we've done up until this point. From this point on, I'm being reminded, hang on to your undies. The higher heart is being activated, period, collectively. If you've done the work, this is going to be cool. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to see it for what it is. If you've been resisting, and if there's friction, and if you still don't do self-love shit, and if you still refuse and repel love because you don't think you're worth it and blah, 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 all those other things, well, you better hang on to your undies or remove them altogether, because holy shit, it's coming for you. Period. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying that from an evolutionary perspective, you want to be here at this time. And my love, you have so much to contribute in this way. And so it's just coming. This is just another step simply in the evolutionary trajectory of the human race. If the higher heart, if that freaking bone has to literally fracture in order for the light to come in and for all of this to happen, well, then that's what's going to happen. Now, don't be afraid. There's so many of us in the community. Well, certainly, a good portion that now have a really solid foundation around this that you can talk to. Spirit asked me to actually talk to you about something, and I'm going to do that in closing. Just really quickly, if you are watching this and you've stayed with me for like 43, 44 minutes of this, I am so deeply touched, humbled, and grateful for you being present with me for this long throughout this teaching, so that you can receive these codes of light, so you can receive the teaching, this divine teaching, because it's really, for the most part, I mean, I embody it for myself, but really this process is just through and out for me, to you, to those that are ready to receive. I have, especially this year, so late last year and this year in particular, been seeing a lot of people searching for counselors, psychologists, perhaps, that that have a spiritual awareness. So a little bit like spiritual counseling or holistic counseling, right? I'm, of course, one of them, but I'm not the only one. My loves, can you please do me a favor, right? Because there's going to be more and more people. If you're not called to do this work, keep your ears and hearts and mind open to those that do this sort of work. So spiritual mentoring, spiritual coaching, spiritual counseling, that sort of work, because not all presenting issues appear to be of spiritual nature, right? Make a note, whether it's a mental note or a note in your book somewhere or in your phone, so that next time you speak to somebody that might appear to need, you can refer people to the right practitioners. You have a little referral network. And by all means, please, if you are a sort of a light worker or someone that actively participates in the healing process in some way, let me know so that I can also keep you on my little referral list, because I have one going all the time, right? I don't always do all of the work because I'm not here for everything for everybody. But please make a note when and if you're talking to somebody and they are needing, you observe or you receive a message that says that they could do with some counseling, but they are looking for a specific kind of a practitioner. Make a note, have a little referral list so that we can really begin this beautiful network of light workers, collaborating, referring, passing on, and helping really anchor more and more people in the crystalline grid, as opposed to the carbon-based 3D matrix. Okay, because all the rainbow bridges are there, they're all built, it's all there, the basic structure in there. Now we're just sort of going in and massaging ourselves into alignment, helping and supporting each other, and then moving into higher and higher and higher vibrations, so that those grids, those frequencies, we can be a match for. Okay. I love you so much, and I'm going to go now. Mwah! With all my love. Bye.